You ever stop to think about how something so simple, so normal, like having a drink to wind after work, could actually ripple out and shape the future for our kids? It's kind of a wild thought, right? Well, today we're going to dive into that surprising link between our small, everyday choices and the legacy we end up leaving behind.
I mean, it's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? Just one drink with friends, a toast at a wedding. What's the big deal? It seems so small, so insignificant. But today, we're really going to unpack that and see how that one tiny act can be the first chapter in a much, much bigger story.
So how do these powerful patterns even begin? It's almost never some big dramatic decision. Nope, it starts way smaller than that. It's something we barely even notice, and a lot of the time, it's the world around us that's pulling the strings.
Okay, so this gets into a really key idea from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. He points out that our vision is just insanely dominant. Think about it, more than half of our brain's resources are dedicated just to seeing. So when our culture is constantly flashing images of alcohol being glamorous or sophisticated, our brains are just soaking that all in. It's like a quiet little whisper telling us, hey, drinking? That's just what successful social people do. But it's not just what we see on a screen, right? Our habits are super social. We're human. We're hardwired to want to fit in, to connect with our tribe. And this creates this really powerful feedback loop, a social loop that can lock in good habits or, not so good ones. Let's break down how that actually works.
And James Clear, he just breaks this down brilliantly. He says we imitate three main groups. First, the close. These are our family and friends. We just naturally absorb their habits. Then there's the many. This is us looking around our social group and, without even thinking about it, asking, what's everyone else doing? We want to belong. And finally, the powerful. We look up to celebrities, leaders, influencers, and we want to be like them. So when you've got all three of those groups doing the same thing, man, it takes some serious willpower to go against that tide.
All right, so that's how the habit gets its hooks in us. But what's the real cost here? Because it's way, way more than what you pay for a drink. There are these huge, often hidden consequences that we really need to get real about.
3 million. Just let that number sink in. According to the World Health Organization, that's how many people die every single year from harmful alcohol use. That's not just a statistic. That's a global tragedy. And behind that number are millions of families, millions of stories of loss.
And the physical toll is just immense. We're not talking about a headache the next day. We're talking about serious, chronic stuff. Severe liver damage, major stress on your heart and your whole cardiovascular system, messed up brain function, even a higher risk for cancer and depression. So yeah, this is not some harmless little habit. The physical risks are very, very real.
And you know what? The harm doesn't stop with the person drinking. Not even close. It ripples outward. It can completely destabilize a home, sparking conflict, neglect, and creating trauma that can stick with family members for years, sometimes even for generations.
Okay, I know that's all really heavy, so let's shift gears for a second. Let's bring this from the big, scary picture down to something personal. How can you look at your own habits clearly, but without all the judgment? Well, the good news is there are actually tools for that.
And this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not about a simple good or bad label. It's about really understanding your own patterns, the how often, the why, and the actual consequences of your choices.
So one of the best tools out there is something called the AUDIT test. That stands for the Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test, which is a mouthful, I know. But it's basically a super straightforward 10-question screening tool from the World Health Organization. And listen, the goal here isn't to get a scary diagnosis. It's just to give you a mirror, a way to honestly reflect on your drinking and see where you might be on the risk scale. And here's the cool part. It's super simple. You answer the questions, you add up your score. A score from 0 to 7, you're in the low-risk zone. 8 to 15 starts to point to a hazardous pattern. If you're hitting 16 to 19, your drinking is probably already causing some harm. And a score of 20 or more, well, that suggests a likely dependence. It's just a really clear, easy way to check in with yourself.
Okay, and this really brings us to the heart of the matter, the most important part of this whole conversation. Because beyond our own health, our own well-being, our habits have a massive impact on the people looking up to us. Every single choice we make is teaching them something.
This right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? Especially if you're a parent or a mentor. We can talk and say all the right things, but what we do, that's what they're paying attention to. Our actions are the real lessons. They are what's shaping the next generation's values.
because trust me, they are always watching.
I absolutely love this quote. It's such a powerful reminder that real leadership, and hey, parenting is absolutely a form of leadership, is about sacrifice. It's about putting the well-being of your team, of your family, ahead of your own immediate wants. It's just a totally different way to think about our responsibilities, right?
So let's just lay it out, plain and simple. Look at the two very different legacies we can leave behind. On one hand, if you choose moderation, or even to abstain, you're teaching these incredible lessons about self-respect, responsibility, and taking care of your health. But on the other hand, if you're always reaching for a drink to cope with stress, the lesson you're teaching is that a little bit of immediate pleasure is worth risking some serious long-term harm. The two messages could not be more different.
Now look, the whole point of this isn't to make anyone feel guilty or to point fingers. Not at all. It's really just an invitation to be more conscious, to just take a second to reflect on our own habits and to really understand the ripple effect they have. Because true freedom, real choice, it always starts with just being aware.
And so that brings us right back to the beginning, to this one final question. The next time you're about to have a drink, before you model that choice for your family, for your friends, for your kids, just pause for a second. Just for a second, and ask yourself this one simple but really powerful question. Is this the legacy I want to leave?